Read all about it. Extra, extra. Read all about it.
The talk show with a difference on Supreme FM, UK's #1 community radio station, spilling the tea to Juliet G. Every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. GMT or BST time, talking to real people and getting them to spill that tea, and that's a T with a double E, and talk their truth.
Anything you wish me, that be a passion. Bad man no they walk up, man no be God. Make them they talk, I so they fly like helicopter. Never the grace of God and inshallah we they move. Question, but then look at the answer. 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 Answer. Bossa, do. Let us sing a salad when you they move. See green light when I look at you. Last time I take a picture with you. Now my cassava where you they look. When I say I know, see wait till you do. See when we go get it wild like Sulesu. Got the one you console. Anything you wish me, that be a passion. Bad man no they walk up, man no be God. Make them they talk up, I so they fly like helicopter. Never the grace of God and inshallah we they move. Question, but then look at the answer. 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 Answer. Question, but then look at the answer. Question, but then look at the answer. Question, but then look at the answer. When you go in, question, but then look at the answer. Answer. Just for the record. Just for the record. If they like it, then chop at the tomato, then no go catch up.
Morning, everyone. It's that time again. It's spilling the tea time. It's another Super Saturday weekend. Wakey, doesn't time fly? No matter what time of the world you are residing and tuning in from, north, south, east or west, for the next couple of hours, it's your host, Juliet G, where I converse with real people and get them to spill that tea. And that's a T with a double E, and talk their truth. For the next couple of hours, all I ask you to do is lend me your ears. Just carry on doing what you're doing. Nudge, wink, say no more. That's all I'm saying. It's Saturday, the 4th of November. The year is waiting for nobody. Last week, Saturday, I was all dressificated up at the Black Awards. And this week, I am on day 4 of my no chocolate, no biscuits, no sweets, no bread, no alcohol. Not that I drink much alcohol, but no alcohol, a detox, where I am giving up eating all those things for the month of November and replacing it with all the good stuff because I have such a sweet tooth. It is unbelievable. So, Sweet Teeth Julie is giving it up for the month of November. So for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, welcome and thank you for choosing Supreme FM. 20 years of broadcasting. Guess what? It's almost 21. Reaching the community and broadcasting, excusez-moi, via the World Wide Web. Now, before I proceed any further, I'd like to thank my guest last week, Mr. Lee Townsend, for his continued input with community news and information, and not forgetting banter with Julie. Yes, this morning I'll be talking to Dame Claudine Duberry. Or is she a doctor? I'll ask her. No, she is a doctor. So what do I say? Dr. Dame Claudine Duberry about the Royal Global Awards on the 25th of November. And after that, I will be in conversation with Miss Teresha Young, my resident relationship master coach. And guess what? We're going to be talking about coughing season. My auntie would say, eh. And my mum would say, what is this? Why are you talking about that? Oh, mommy. That's all I can say. Oh, mommy. Anyway, stay tuned and all will be revealed by Ms. Young. Yes, my relationship, my Ms. Relationship Extraordinaire. So, in life, one must always show gratitude and be grateful and thankful for everything that you have in life. And stop complaining. Julie, stop complaining, That's what I have to keep saying to myself every day. I've got to be thankful and grateful, which is definitely a must for me. First and foremost, to the Most High, I am always truly blessed and grateful that I have woken up on that wake-up list. Yes, and also I'd like to thank to the supporters and sponsors of my show, Supreme FM Management, Fine Boy Inc., Martin Winter of James Shoe Care, Embark Inside, Account Hackney, SAS, Miss V the Therapist, Teresha Young, my resident relationship master coach, Lee Townsend, my big sister Son for her weekly prayers, Thami Quest, the UK's #1 black entertainment company, and Vows Everlasting Celebrant. That's me! As always, big up to Miss Polly. Your work does not go unnoticed. Ms. Social Queen, she is Supreme FM's Ms. Social Queen Extraordinaire. Yes, and also to my fellow Supreme FM presenters and to you, the listeners, thank you for keeping it supreme, the #1 community radio station. Now, today is week 44 of the Coinage Crew savings plan. There are 4 ways to save. You could save forwards. This week you're putting away £44, making £990, or backwards, putting away £9, making a saving of £1,342. Or you could do it monthly, so for the month of November, at some point you are putting away £114.83. And weekly, you can put away £26.50, making a total of £1,263.17. However you decide to save, the end result will still be the same, and you will save £1,378. As a community radio station, Christmas is fast approaching. Now, if you would like to send greetings to your family, friends, or loved ones, just voice note it to me via WhatsApp, quoting Christmas greetings. And all you have to do is take down this all-important number 07958 674099. That's 07958 674099. Who doesn't like a shout out? Everybody likes a shout out. Well, I'm sure they do. As a community radio station, as I was saying, we are all about promoting what's going on in and around our community. So if you know of any community news and information, don't keep it to yourself. Don't be selfish. And, share the love. Send it to me or someone in Supreme, and we will spill that tea and spread the love. And as my friend Jeff Schumann would say, we can't dance our way through life. Okay, on that note, I want to pass you on to my big sister Son, who's going to lead us in prayer. So just bear with, and I'll pass you on to my big sister Son.
Dear Lord God, Heavenly Father, we come together again to another edition of Spilling the Tea to Juliet G. I'm going to read a prayer that I came across this week, as I like my prayers to be a prayer of thanks for all that's going on. I am thankful, Lord. I thank God for His mercy and grace, because it is in Him that we find our way in life, and through Him we find our strength for life. I thank God for preparing us in spirit, mind and soul, for we know not what the future may bring. I thank Him for taking the stress and strain out of our lives and placing our feet upon a foundation whose builder and master is Jesus our Saviour. Dear Lord God, continue to watch over us all. Continue to watch over my sister Juliet G and her guests. All the behind the scenes to bring the programme together and to bring the community radio station together. Dear Lord God, by being thankful, by being graceful, by being humble, give us the opportunity to recognise that by being thankful to you, dear Lord God, we're able to be helpful to others. So as her guests share their experience, their knowledge, I continue to give your name thanks and praise for all that's been going on in our busy weeks, in our personal lives, and generally things that we've been concerned about. Let us put them to your feet, dear Lord God, as we give thanks and praise. Your name is to be praised and glorified and worshipped. I say this short prayer to you today as we continue to listening in to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G. Amen.
Yes, I just the blessing. I just the blessing. Father God blessing. Well, more blessing. I just the blessing. I just the blessing. Them can't stop me. I am blessed. I am blessed. Every day of my life I am blessed. When I wake up in the morning and I lay my head to rest, every day of my life I am blessed. Even though me say me praise God straight, make money straight, money it has straight, fun bad mind straight. God knows me love woman straight, me father him straight. That's why me born straight. And if for them I try stop me, me fly past them straight. One for them a wicked, so what them in a rate. You know them want back the little food from me plate, but I got over devil a hell for them straight. I am blessed. I am blessed. Every day of my life I am blessed. When I wake up in the morning and I lay my head to rest, every day of my life I am blessed.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. I would like to bring on my first guest, Dame Claudine Duberry.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Now, what do I call you? Do I call you Milady? Do I call you Dr. Dame? Or do I call you... What do I call you? What do you like
Yeah,
to be called?
I do like to be called Dr. Claudine Duberry.
Okay, then, Doctor, I will call you.
I do. Or
Okay,
just
Doc.
Claudine.
Go
Whichever
on.
one. Yeah, Dr. Claudine Duberry is great.
Okay, that's the one. That's what we'll call you, Doctor. So, morning, Doctor. Welcome again to the show. Right, let's get straight to it. Are you hosting in fact, you know what? Tell us about the Royal Awards.
The Royal Awards will take place on the 25th of November at the Cavendish Banqueting Suite in NW9. Now, many people ask, what's Royal? Why have you called it Royal?
Mm-hmm.
Acronym Royal stands for Raising Our Youth as Leaders.
Okay,
So
I like
raising
that.
our youth as leaders together, we get Royal.
Okay, I love it.
So Royal is really it's a charity, and it's working towards raising our youth as leaders, as you and I know. And even last week we were talking about it on your show. We talk about the negative press that a lot of our young people get, the behaviors that's displayed in the community, the family dysfunctions, and all the rest of it that go together to give the community, the families, and the children, young people, such bad names. So we are aiming to change the status quo. But in changing the status quo, I mean, I heard you quote lots last week about your mum. We've got to go back to basics.
We
What
do. We do.
basic means? It means we have to take our children back to where we were, how our parents brought us up.
Cleaning that skirting boards. Yes, that's what I say. I don't even think the kids know what skirting boards are.
Listen, you told them to clean a skirting board. They're like, "Oh, mum, I've got to go and meet. I've got this PlayStation game. I've got this TV program.
You better do
I've
it
got
before."
everything going on." And we're like, and we allow it. And I say we because I may have been guilty of it over the time.
I think we have been.
But
our generation has been guilty, and hence we've created monsters. Not all of them.
Well, this is what I'm saying, and this is why the Royal Awards is so important, because even during the lockdown, we saw those who went through some horrendous times. Children of this day don't like to be confined. We were different. We could have taken it or leave it. We could be out in the community, or we'd be happy to stay at home. When you confine these children, it's like something different triggers in their brain. And so we have a lot of young people who suffered mental issues because of the lockdown. And so we're even celebrating those who've come through. We got some fantastic nominees, who have overcome the adversity and have gone on to do some fantastic things in the community. They've achieved those exam results. They've set up businesses. They've gone to university. We're celebrating them because the news is not going to celebrate them. Every so often in our WhatsApp, we'll get a post that says, celebrate this young person because the news won't tell us about them. Well, we're giving us a platform where we're going to celebrate our own. I think we had 400 tickets, and I think we're down to 150, which is absolutely fantastic.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We've got a room full of people who are not just interested in coming out to the celebration, but they're coming out to see, well, what's going on in our community. Our youngest nominee is 9 years old.
Oh.
And somebody nominated her for the fantastic work that she is doing in the community at 9 years old with her peers. And I just read her nomination as it came through, and as we had to send them on to the judges and the panel, and just said, wow, you know what I mean? Just absolutely wow. And those are the individuals that we're aiming to celebrate and support and encourage, because from her bio, you can already see that she's that leader. She's gonna come and she's gonna stamp all over this community. We've got an 11-year-old, we've got a 13-year-old, and then we go up, up, up. And I think our oldest nominee is an 80-year-old.
Did you say
And
8-0?
80,
Okay.
80. Can we just take a stock and celebrate?
Yes, we
Part
must
of
do.
the Windrush community, but her nomination was for foster care, and she has fostered over 400 children in her time. And she also runs a children's home. But we don't get to hear about these
Not
people.
at all. Not at all. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, this awards is happening later on this month. So, what month can, if we wanted to start putting our nominations in for next year, because this year is out of it, because I know a few young people already on that list that I can nominate. So, and I'm sure that there's listeners here that can nominate too. They've got young people that they can nominate out there. So, what month should we be looking out for?
Right, so as quick as this nomination is over, and as I said, it's on the 25th of November, from the 1st of December, we will be creating the nomination platform again. And even now, I would say to people, if you've got a nomination and you've got a number, send in the nomination, send me their bios, send it on my mobile, say, please be aware that going to be a nomination that I want to go in. And when we look at the categories, we had one in education. So we've got some fantastic people who are coming under our education banner just because they had stayed fast in that education system and supported and encouraged our young people through it. So we've got education, we've got the overcoming adversity, we've got the mental health category, we've got our fostering through parenting, we've got our community outreach category. There's various categories, and if you think, oh, she's just mentioned some, but I'm not sure that my person's going to send it in and said, excuse me, I want you to create this category.
Also, you can create categories.
And we will look at it. It's a community, Juliet. What we're trying to do is get our community.
Do you know what? Do you know, I love that because a couple of weeks ago, I attended an award ceremony, and this was by a young lady who comes on my radio show, Yolanda Lear, and I got to give her props. Do you know what? I felt like a proud parent. I was so proud because what she put together with her limited resources was just absolutely phenomenal, and she was celebrating our elders, and it was just, like the look of joy on their faces, just getting that certificate, getting that, just getting acknowledged for what they do, and somebody just saying thank you. That's all people want. That's all they want. So, that's why I say, start getting in those messages, people. Send me them messages so that I can read them out, play them, so people can hear. We're actually coming up to that all-important break. But just quickly, where can people get the tickets for this glitzy affair?
Right, so they can get the tickets on Eventbrite, which at the Royal Gala Awards. They can call me personally on 07931 644 909, or they can go on the website and tap in weareroyal.co.uk, and on there's a button that they can click that will take them straight to the page for tickets.
Thank you so much, Dr. Claudine Duberry, for coming on and telling us about this auspicious occasion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Day.
Every day of my life, I am blessed.
Welcome back to Spilling That's Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest, my resident relationship master coach extraordinaire. Welcome back, Teresha.
Good morning, Juliet. Good morning, all. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Do you know what? It feels like it's been a long time, but it hasn't been. But
It
it
hasn't.
feels like
No.
it has been. How are you
Maybe
this
the
morning?
seasons are changing and everything, so it might feel a bit long.
Hey, coughing season. Hey, I want to dive into this one. Coughing season. When you messaged me about this
Yeah.
suggested topic, I was like, what? Hey, I thought to myself, is this really a thing? I thought you was having a laugh. So you know what? I went on to my favorite, I had phone in hand, Google being my best friend.
Hey.
So I Googled it and I was like, she's really serious. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well,
Absolutely serious.
I'm sure you've got a lot to say. So let's start because I'm eager to know about this coughing thing.
Yes, exactly. And that phrase, just like how you experience, is going to be so new to so many people. What on earth is cuffing season? So just imagine handcuffs, basically. So in terms of, well, and we're keeping it PG, okay? We're keeping
Keep
it
it
PG.
PG, PGO
Keeping it
before they
PG
cut
for this
me off.
morning. Exactly. Saturday morning and everything. So cuffing season is basically a social cultural phenomenon where it has gained lots of recognition over recent years. And it typically marks a period of time when individuals actively start romantic partners. They start seeking romantic partners during the colder months. So typically between October and the March time, the winter, autumn months. Now, really is rooted in the desire for having warmth, companionship, shared experiences. I mean, looking at my window today, it is just raining at the moment. So it's that cold, cozy feel. And you might want to just, cuddle up with somebody.
Get a pillow.
And get a pillow.
No, I'm only joking.
Yeah, I think it's that what you get back in return. If you got some sort
At
of
least
automated
nobody will
pillow,
answer back. Sorry. Okay, I'll be serious. Cause
you know what? It works for some, and this is what we're going to go into some of the pros and cons when we go into our conversation. But according to relationship surveys, there's quite a noticeable uptake in dating app usage and relationship statuses changing from in a relationship during this period of cuffing season. So you can imagine, just like today, it's rainy, it's gloomy here. You might get yourself onto a dating app, who can I talk to? Who can I connect with? So it has captured a lot of public interest over the years because we're starting to understand a bit more about human behavior and social expectations and the impact of changing seasons when it comes to people pursuing connections. So there is. I mean, it's something that happens. It's a quite a new phenomenon, but it has gained a lot of traction, and it's just some things that we have to be aware of when it comes to cuffing season, as to what are the upsides to it, what are the downsides to it, why people do it, with no judgment, or sometimes there is judgment, but it's all about managing expectations and the intentions behind doing it.
Teresa, just out of curiosity, can couples be in cuffing season? Or is it just for single people?
Oh, couples can go into cuffing season too.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they can do. So, again, we
Pray
just think
tell.
about...
Because I know that there's some couples think, they're lying in their beds now, and now they're kind of like slowly etched up, like, let me hear what she has to say.
Yes. Well, there could be some couples in bed now thinking, what is this cuffing season and how does it apply to us? So absolutely. What we have to be mindful of, though, is why, for example, a couple is only cuffing up now and not during other times of the year. Because if you are craving that closeness and that intimacy and you're doing it just because you're stuck indoors, it's rainy and it's cold, the whole nurturing of relationship is all year round, it's every single day. So you can't put a plaster on the wound, so to speak, by just having it as a seasonal thing and getting cozy. Really, if you are doing it as a temporary thing or you haven't been doing it throughout the year, then you have to assess why not. What has been stopping you from cuffing all year round? So typically, the cuffing season is about the singles looking for love, but then also if you are in a couple, if you are coupled up and you're only doing it during the winter months, then what's happened to the other months? What's going on there? Where's the closeness and intimacy? So yes, it can work for couples, but it's more for singles.
So who does the cuffing, and what if you are in same-sex relationship? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's not gender specific, and it doesn't matter who does the cuffing.
So anybody can cuff?
Anybody can cuff. Anybody. So just to be clear, cuffing it's not a physical thing. It's not like you handcuff or you lock somebody to your bed and say, hey, you're mine for next 6 months.
Well, some people listen. Do you know what? I'm sure people can tell us scenarios of being handcuffed and locked up.
They could do, and I don't think this is the platform for those kind of discussions.
That's a nighttime conversation.
That is exactly. But yes, so it's not a physical thing. This is more like an emotional handcuffing, so to speak. Emotional cuffing up. The whole physical side of it. It can be physical too, of course. When it comes to what you do when you are together, that can be physical, of course. But it's more about that emotional connection, that intimacy, that closeness that you get with somebody, which could be short term. So no, it's not gender specific, and it doesn't matter who does the cuffing. It's all about the intentions really behind it.
Are there rules? Oops. What's going on here? Sorry, I think phone dropped. Hello, I don't know what happened there.
I have no idea, but I'm back.
Yeah. So you were saying?
Yes. So it's all about the intentions for both people as to, for example, are you both on the same page? And that's where the problems can arise if you're not on the same page.
So are there rules to this cuffing?
No, there isn't rules, but what I would say is all about the intention behind it. So this is where communication is so important, which is when we were doing the promo for this radio show and discussion today, it was all about, for example, are some people out there just for the short-term hookups, just for the coven season, but you haven't communicated that to the person that you've connected with. So they think that this could transition into something more serious, something more long-term.
So sorry to cut you. So basically, people have to let people know what their intentions are. So if you're only there for the short haul, as in just the cuffing season, and not a relationship, you have to let the person know from the get-go.
I mean, yeah, it's very integral to do that, because when you think about it, if you are sometimes it's intentional that people don't communicate it because they think if I communicate it, that person's not going to be interested if they're looking for something. So I'm just going to slide out of their life eventually. That could be obviously an intention, which is not the greatest intention. Or there can be some people who they just haven't communicated it and the questions haven't been asked. So you might hear, we're going with the flow, we're just vibing, we're just feeling how it's going. But there's been no conversation relatively soon into the dating experience as to what's your dating and relationship intentions here. Let's lay that on the table before people start wasting their times and having that emotional investment, only to find out that, what I was only really looking for. This is something that you might see in the dating app, I'm figuring out my dating goals. Well, if you see somebody who's figuring out their dating goals, kind of be in the mindset that they might not be so serious, at the moment. But then if you are looking for something more committal, and you have that conversation where you just wish that person goodbye and let them go on about their business.
Say that again, Teresa.
Go on about their business.
Now, Teresa, you know what? Can you tell us what the upsides to this cuffing season is? What's the advantages of?
Okay, so the upside to it is, and we talked about intention. Let's say both people are on the same page, they've set the intention. So the upside to it is that, yes, you can achieve that warmth and that companionship. There are many people out there who aren't actually looking for long-term relationships, and that's absolutely okay. They're not everybody going to want to be. But if you meet somebody and that's the same, then you can achieve that warmth and companionship for that time. So you can also have, there's lots of things going on around autumn time. There's lots of fetes, there's lots of festivals, there's Christmas fairs and all of that. People want to be able to share that experience with somebody without actually, being committal. And that's fine, as long as you have agreed that that is what's happening. So you might have a little holiday partner, which you can enjoy those festive experiences. And there's lots of things you can do indoors. Like today, I keep referring to the weather because I woke up and I was really shocked that it was raining as much as it was. But like today, for example, you might not want to go outside. So if you are single, you've got somebody that you can call on to say, hey, do you want to fancy just chilling, getting in some food, watching a movie, playing a board game, card game, whatever that is. That can be nice. You can do some indoor activities there. And also, because of the season, because you're doing more indoor activities, there's less pressure to socialise in larger groups. Because in the summertime, you might got loads of invitations out. Let's go out, let's do this and all of that. And sometimes if you are the single person in those groups, you can feel like you've got a lot of pressure. You haven't got your plus one with you. And when it's the colder months, we tend to do much more indoors and we hibernate a bit more. So there can be less social pressure around being, when you are just cuffed up with somebody. And as I said before, you've got the cozy atmosphere. That can bring about intimacy. It can bring about intimacy. So it depends upon what the intentions are, really. But there are some pros, because it can feel lonely. This is the time of year where a lot of people start to reflect. They start to look back over the last, we're now November, they start to look back over the last 10 months or so and say, what's happened? What have I achieved? What have I not achieved? And this can be a nice time to actually just wrap up the year with some companionship.
Now, Teresa, where there is upsides, there's always downsides. What's the disadvantage of this cuffing thing?
The cuffing thing, yes. This cuffing thing. So typically, if the intention is just to get cuffed up for the winter months, for example, you're looking at a very short-lived experience. So it can be seen to be of a temporary nature and very seasonal rather than long-term. So that can be one of the risks of it. But then also you have to think about, if both people have the intention just for it to be a short-term thing, and then one person starts to develop feelings and the other person doesn't, that could be something to have to navigate. That might not be so easy to navigate, and that will take some conversations around that. Also, there is that societal expectation during cuffing season that you're going to get invited. There are going to be lots of Christmas festivities coming up and all of that. And there might be those awkward moments when you're seeing that family member or that friend and they're saying, oh, you're still single. Oh, and they're asking you these awkward questions and making you feel really bad about your singlehood or that you're not in a relationship. And you get those awkward questions, and you just get some feisty family members anyway who will just say things anyway without thinking what they're going to say to you. So what that might do is create some pressure to conform. So you might just have a little quick, rushed partnership with somebody so that you can reach out. You can go with a plus one, for example. There'll be work things going on. So that can be a bit pressurized for some people. The thing about that is then you start to develop a lack of authentic connection. So that can be the problem, is that you rush into it and then there isn't that authenticity behind the connection, and you might end up settling. There'll be some things you might even start to compromise your boundaries because you just want to be with somebody, and that's a danger when you start to settle or when you start to compromise your boundaries and you start losing yourself along the way just to be in a connection with somebody, even if it's short term, to look good, to look like you've got somebody. The only thing is that you might look good temporarily and take these people to these activities, and then you're going to get the questions where, so what happened to Shane? What happened to Sharon? Whatever that dynamic is. So then you're gonna probably want to justify what happened in some way, shape, or form. So there's that. And like what I was saying before, if feelings start to develop, you can get uncertainty towards the end. Let's say post-season uncertainty. So then when the months start getting warmer, you're heading into spring, you've got summer. It can be quite difficult to transition between those months because you're like, what are we? Are we? Are we not? That type of question, which is why the communication along the way is really important. You're going to get a vibe from that person as to whether this is transitioning into something a little more serious or if it is just a hookup. And that's something, again, that we can explore a bit more in this conversation as to how can you tell, if somebody really is categorically just in it for a seasonal thing. So, yeah, there's many cons or the downsides to it being it, because if expectations aren't met when it comes to the end, then there can be an emotional fallout. And then if that's the case, you're kind of approaching a breakup. And from my experience in the work that I do, breakups are difficult to navigate for most people because you've got the emotional pain. So then that's something to have to bear in mind, is the grief that you will experience from a breakup that most people experience anyway.
Teresa, do people start planning towards cuffing season?
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. I would say, because like what you've identified, it relatively isn't a widespread thing that most people know about. To be very intentional about planning for it, I don't think that people can say, I'm planning for cuffing season. But what they will be doing is they'll be thinking about what they want to feel during the winter months. So if you're getting to summer and you're actually thinking ahead and thinking, autumn's coming, winter's coming, I would love to have a companion during the time.
But isn't that planning though?
It is planning, but they might not necessarily call it cuffing. I'm not like I'm planning for cuffing season, but yes, for some people they can plan ahead, particularly if you have been single for a while. So if you've been single for a few years and you know typically that during these winter months or colder months that you like to have companionship, then yes, some people can plan for it. For some people, it's just the heat of the moment and they're thinking, oh, I'm feeling quite lonely. And that's the thing. It's the intention behind it, because I strongly believe that, yes, you can look for companionship and it is nice, but it's the neediness versus needs. That's a huge difference. We all have basic human needs, and one of that is love and connection. We do have that as a basic human need. It's the way in which we receive that need and we give that need to other people that we have to focus on. Because if you're lonely, then really that is to go within. I mean, it all starts with ourselves, and to find ways to fill that void for ourselves so that we don't have to rely on external things to make us feel happy or to make us feel fulfilled. That starts with us.
So what does cuffing a female mean?
Cuffing a female? Is that something that you've seen on Google? Because that's not a term.
No, it's not a term.
It's not a term that I've come off. Cuffing a female. Well, that sounds like something that maybe a male wrote, and cuffing a female means that you just end up hooking up with a woman. Maybe is that what? That's what it means. I mean, it's not a term that I'm familiar with.
Do you know what? I have no idea. I just saw the question and I thought I'll ask you.
I can only imagine that it just means that you've hooked up with a woman. That's my assumption. But if a listener knows and wants to drop in a text message or something in this chat to enlighten myself and Juliet, I would love to hear what that means, because it might even be a youth slang thing. I am not a youth myself, so that might be something to explore.
Exactly. Okay. Can you cuff a male?
Can you cuff a male?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's kind of like the vice versa of the other question. In terms of, it feels like if you're cuffing a female, can you cuff a male? Then I'm assuming it's that same principle. So I'm guessing it just sounds to me, and it feels to me that means you're just hooking up with a male or you're hooking up with a female, really.
Right.
Unless we are enlightened by a listener. Please let us know.
Please do. Now, Teresa, another question. Is there such a thing as cuff dating?
Cuff dating?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's because this is another term that I'm not familiar with. So if it means that you cuff it in the way that I've explored, as in cuff dating, and it's seasonal, then that's what I'm assuming that means. It's cuffing season, and then that's cuff dating.
Right. Interesting.
So, which is just finding like a winter cuddle buddy. It's like somebody that sometimes you can just maybe share a blanket with, have some hot cocoa or Milo. I don't know if anybody drinks Milo anymore, but
Milo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Milo or Ovaltine, whatever's your floats your boat.
Now you're going way back. now, Teresa, does cuffing mean marriage?
No. So that's a different thing. When we're talking about cuffing season, it usually is a very temporary thing. But of course, it could lead to marriage. Who's not to say that you might find yourself cuffed up with somebody and it turns into something long term? But I can see why people might think that. But no, that's the thing about cuffing season. You're not locking somebody into a relationship. That's not what it is. It generally tends to be very temporary in its nature.
It's just a temporary affair.
it tends to be quite a temporary affair when it comes to the cuffing season, which is why again we find that surge. The researchers said that people on the dating apps, there's a surge when it comes to the dating apps, because really you go out there and you're putting yourself out there for temporary nature. Now the only thing about dating apps is that I don't know whether people are going to be generally that transparent that that's what they are doing, because people want to have a wide selection pool. They're not always very truthful about what they state their relationship and dating intentions to be. So for those who are navigating dating apps at the moment, I would encourage you to explore what they put in their bio. So, for example, some people don't put anything at all. They don't set any intention. Again, if you know what you want, and you have to be very intentional about what you want from the dating experience, then you can ask those questions. So sometimes you might see in a dating app looking for a life partner but open to short, relationship or short-term dating, whatever that might be. So again, it's understanding more about it, because what you want to be doing is filtering out the people who aren't a match for you in your current season. So what is your current season? Is your season just to go out there and just to meet people, casual date? That's fine. Match somebody who has that same intention, but you have to be very clear about that in the conversations that you have. And ideally, I would say, is to have these conversations before you even meet up with a person. You might be having your written communication, take that to a telephone call or a video call. I'm a big advocate of actually having a face call, a video call with somebody on the app, because you don't have to take it to WhatsApp or take it offline at all. You can keep it within the app and have a video conversation with them or a call just to find out a bit more about them, and then maybe meet up. I do fully appreciate that some people are quite quick movers, and they might talk to somebody and say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I can understand that might be a bit more of a speedy interaction. But again, if you have the opportunity to even jump on a call, then you can ask some of those questions. I know you don't want to go in too heavy when you're meeting somebody because it's a bit of a vibes check, but again, time is precious, and there's a lot of people out there who are multiple dating. They're dating multiple people, and it can take up a lot of time and energy to meet every single person in person. So again, do your filtering process to find out really what people are looking for, particularly as you have that awareness now that some people during October to March time are just looking for short-term companionship.
Interesting. Quick question. Someone sent in a question. It says, what is paper clipping in dating?
Paper clipping. Oh, this other term. So paper clipping in dating. So that sounds like something very temporary to me. So I'm not sure whether that is an alternative way for cuffing season, maybe paper clipping. I mean, it's not something that I'm too familiar with. I'm guessing metaphorically, when you think about paper clipping, you are just kind of hooking something together. It feels like a hookup, really. It's not a term that I am familiar with. So I'm going to put my hand up there and say it's not a term that I'm familiar with. But again, it's something that we could explore. If it's a big enough topic, maybe it could be a big enough topic for us to explore on another show.
Absolutely. Right, we are coming up to that all-important break, and when we come back, we'll be talking more about cuffing.
Woohoo!
Hey, I kinda know why you don't feel good. It's because you need a little bit of chocolate can improve your circulation. It can feed that craving, that temptation. Girl, what you need is a little bit of chocolate. Nothing else makes the wrongs feel right. Nothing will soothe you more at night than some chocolate. Now, everybody needs a little chocolate every now and then. I mean, the kind that melts in your mouth and not your hand. It doesn't matter if you eat it or drink it, if it's mocha or espresso, if it's chocolate milk or even chocolate cake, baby, you need some chocolate. Now, doctors say that chocolate is good for your heart. And white chocolate, it's okay. But for maximum strength, you need to find something that's dark. Ooh, baby, come on right now. Get it right, get it with me, baby. Ooh, sweet baby, get your get it right, get it with me, baby. I hear that chocolate can make all the pain go away. Imagine chocolate and some whipped cream on a cold winter's day. You see, chocolate is actually recommended when you're in a rut. I guess the question for you is, do you prefer your chocolate with or without nuts? So how many ladies out there believe in chocolate, huh? I need you to be grand. I need you to testify. Matter of fact, let me see you wave your hands. And for those who are allergic to chocolate, it's all right. You don't have to stand. But here's my suggestion to you. Why don't you find yourself a chocolate man? Baby, better get your
Welcome back to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. I am in conversation with Miss Teresha Young, my resident relationship master coach, and we are talking about cuffing season. If you missed the start of the show, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Juliet G, and you'll get notified when I upload this show. So if you have any questions you would like to ask Teresha about cuffing season, please text it to 07958 674099, quoting cuffing. And that is CUFFING. Now, Teresha, before we went to break, you was telling us about, what's that, paper clipping.
Yes, so that was new to me. So during the break, I had to do my own investigations to find out what that was. Mm-hmm. So what I have gleaned is that the paper clipping tends to be when somebody has you on the back burner, and when they feel like you're about to go cold, they'll reach out. So it's quite similar to like ghosting or zombieing. Like they just come back into your life when they feel like the vibes have changed. So They don't really want to see you or to move things forward, but it's just to restoke the flame and make sure that you're still an option. So that's the term that paper clipping seems to be alluding to, is that someone will just come in, hey, how you doing? And then they will slip back out of your life, which of course is not a great thing to be doing to anybody. So I don't encourage that behavior whatsoever. But equally, if you know that's what somebody is doing, so sometimes there's a pattern of behavior behind people's actions, and you can go to them and you can say, I've noticed that on occasions that you come in, you start conversation, and then you slip out. What's happening here? Just be straight. You can call them out on that behavior, especially if you've got a pattern behind it. So that's what paper clipping tends to be. There's so many different dating terms out there. Sometimes it's very easy. Sometimes it can be helpful to have a label behind it. There's also the risk of mislabeling too. So I hope that has been what the listener was looking for in terms of what that clarification is.
And question.
Yeah.
How can you tell if someone is just looking for a short-term hookup? Like a short-term cuffing thing?
Yeah, there are quite a few signs. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list, but these are some of the things that you can look for in terms of certain behaviors they might be displaying. So here are some potential red flags to watch out for. So there might be a lack of interest in long-term plans. You may find that person consistently avoids discussions about the future, or expresses a disinterest in making plans beyond the cupping season. So if that's the case, it may indicate a short-term focus. And you all know what that looks like. If you are asking them questions and it's responses such as, just going with the flow, let's see how it goes, or they're talking about the future and you're not in that future, you're not in that plans in terms of what they're doing, that is usually a good indication that that person is just figuring out their dating goals or looking for something quite short term. So really pay attention to whether there is a lack of interest in long-term plans. I would say that is one red flag to look out for. Another one would be limited emotional investment too. So you may notice that there's a reluctance to share personal details or emotions with you. Now, if that's the case, it's often a representation that they don't want to form a deeper connection with you. So if they're not sharing things about their personal life so much and you're trying to explore that, again, everything I'm sharing could be your own behavior too. So see it from both angles, because you may go in there thinking that you are looking for something long term, but in actual fact, when they start asking you questions about your long term plans or about your personal details and you're hesitant to share it, then maybe deep down you're not ready for a long term relationship either. So it goes both ways.
But
so there might,
can I just ask another question?
Yeah.
What if somebody tells you, shares information, but they're still not interested in any long-term thing with you?
Yeah, so they may share personal information. It depends upon the depth of that, and the questions depends upon the amount of exploration you do in return. So let's say they share something quite personal with you and you start to ask them questions around it, but there's still some sort of blockage or barrier that you find, then perhaps that's not something that they want to explore further or to go into. Sometimes people, it depends upon who you're dealing with, just don't really want to talk too much about their experiences, or some people aren't necessarily so emotional involved. So I know that if you listen to myself and Juliet, you would have heard us speak about attachment styles. And attachment styles is a science that's backed up by some scientific research. Is all about how you relate to people when it comes to relationships. And attachment styles often are formed from when you were a very young child and the way in which you received love and attention from your parents or your caregivers. And depending on that, you can develop an attachment style, which means that either you can have some insecurities, so you can become anxious in your relationships with people, or you can become avoidant. And avoidant people tend to not want emotional intimacy and connection. Anxious people can be quite needy and clingy. And then you've got people who are quite secure and they're like, I've got it by myself and I've got it with you. I'm really secure by that. Now, when you find that you're having conversations with people and they might not be so emotionally connected with you, they could have an avoidant attachment style. The thing about attachment styles is that they can change. When you know what your attachment style is, and there's quizzes out there online if you want to have a look and explore that, you have the opportunity to grow through that and change that attachment style. So there's every opportunity to do that. So if you are, this might just be in their nature that they don't open up and they, feel very vulnerable to be able to, open up. So again, it depends upon the amount of exploration you're going to do with somebody as to when they share that personal information, how much more curiosity you can have around that, and how much they give back to you. So I hope that answers your question, Juliet.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Another question is, what does good communication look like in during the cuffing season?
Yeah. So during cuffing season, what you might find is firstly that there's inconsistent communication. So there might be fluctuating communication patterns, and they might be responsive one day and distant the next. That can often indicate a lack of commitment. So what does good communication look like? The opposite. So there would not be fluctuating communication patterns. They might be, very responsive. There's fluidity in the conversation. It's not like you speak to them and then you don't hear from them for 24 hours, 48 hours, and you're thinking, what's going on here? Wagwan. What I hear from somebody one day, I don't hear from them the next, and they might be distant. And, communication is more than just the words that somebody's using.
Absolutely.
Communication is the whole package. It's like the way in which they say something. Sometimes you might talk to somebody and their tone is flat, and then next time you talk to them and it's up. So you really want to be dealing with somebody is consistent in the way that they communicate. Yes, we'll have our ups and downs. One day we might wake up not feeling so great, so we might not want to overly communicate. We might sound a little bit different, but that's like a temporary thing. It's not the consistent behavior. So in order for us to feel safe as people, consistency really matters. So again, it's about their body language when you talk about communication, because the majority of the way in which we communicate is through our body language and our physiology. So do they present an element of closeness? What about their eye contact? What about how they touch you? How about, do they look like they're willing to embrace you? What are their gestures? All of that all matters. So what you're looking for is a congruence in their communication.
Say that again. What?
Congruence. So an alignment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like an alignment in their communication, so that everything seems, their words and their actions speak. And that's what you're kind of looking for. That's what good communication looks like. But then let's bounce back to the words, because yes, words do make up our communication. So what are they saying to you, and how do you feel about what they're saying to you? Because if they're saying things that aren't kind and they're saying things that aren't thoughtful, then, and you don't feel happy about that, of course, then it's something that you're going to want to address. Or are they great in the way that they communicate? Do you feel uplifted when you talk to them? Do they say nice things? Are they kind with their words? Really look at the overall picture when it comes to good communication. Can you open up to them as well, and do you feel safe? Can you be vulnerable with that person? And of course we can look at that and when we go on in our conversation about what healthy love looks like. But again, that's what good communication can look like. But what I do want to do, if there's space to do that, is just to bounce back to some of the red flags as well, because when what good communication looks like, what inconsistent communication looks like, then let's look at if somebody isn't really communicating with you emotionally, then what you might find is that there's an overemphasis on physical intimacy. So if somebody is looking for a short-term hookup, one of the things that you might find is that they're more focused on the physical aspects of the relationship rather than emotional connection and shared activities. So that could be a sign of short-term intentions too. They, either whether that's a sexual thing, whether that's just cuddling up, whatever that might be, without even talking so much. Or you might find that it's surface level conversation, small talk that you have with them, but they still want to focus more on the physical intimacy. That could be a red flag that they are looking just for a short-term hookup there. And what you also might find, Juliet, is that there's an avoidance of social integration. So they are avoiding introducing you to their social circle, or or participating in activities. That's a huge thing. And again, if, for example, the intention is, okay, now what does that look like? So even if you are having a short-term hookup with somebody and you both agree that, this is a seasonal kind of thing, then agree, what does that look like? Does that mean that, is it good for us to invite each other to these social activities that are coming up? Do you want to meet my friends or not? Really scope out the parameters of what that looks like, because what that does is that it eliminates the ambiguity around it and uncertainty. And nobody wants to feel uncertain, really. We want to feel safe. We want to feel quite sure. I know some uncertainty will happen in life. We can't control everything. But what is in our control is to have these healthy discussions. So again, there might be the avoidance of social integration that you have. Also, there might be the resistance to labels. So defining what the relationship is can be a huge thing. They're like, so what are we? I'm girlfriend, boyfriend, partner. And what you might find is during that time, there is a resistance to people wanting to be labelled there. I understand that though, because if you are both in agreement that we are just, spending this time together, then there might not be the necessity for labelling whatsoever. But if you are starting to transition, and you both feel like you're starting to transition somewhere, it's like, so, if I was to introduce you to my friends or my family, how would you like me to introduce you? And you can ask those questions there.
Is there an age thing when it comes to cuffing season?
I don't think so. I mean, what you probably will find is that, the age demographics of people who are seeking love, it doesn't really matter on an age thing whatsoever. You may find that typically, like the millennials might find it easier to have short-term hookups just because of their environment. And they're probably out doing lots of social activities, and they're more the selection pool can be wider for people who are younger. And as you grow older, the selection pool narrows a little bit because a lot of people have started to settle down into a relationship. So there isn't an age range, but what you will probably find is that there may be more people in their late 30s, early 40s on the dating apps, for example, looking for that coziness during this time.
Interesting. 2 people have agreed to take it past cuffing season. What does healthy love look like?
Yeah, and that's a really great question, actually, because that's where the conversation is going to get very interesting, because it depends upon how much you have found out about that person during quote unquote cuffing season, and how much you can leverage that to transition it into what healthy love looks like. So one of the first aspects is that during that time, have you ascertained that that person is emotionally available? So have you been able to explore deeper conversations with that person? Because if you haven't, that's going to be a huge thing to now have to navigate, because you didn't have that emotional connection or intimacy before, and now you're going to start opening up. So again, healthy love looks like where somebody is emotionally available for that person, because what that does, it creates an element of safety. You feel safe around them, you feel secure around them. So can you open up to them emotionally and also physically, and you don't feel judged, you don't feel persecuted, and you can talk about your fears and your criticisms? That's great. If you can feel safe in their presence and you can feel like you are your real self, then that's absolutely great, because that's one of the first things for healthy love. And this isn't in any particular order, but one of the aspects is that physical and emotional availability and emotional safety that you feel with somebody. Another one would be your ability to feel that your needs are being met in the relationship. And I kind of spoke about this before in our conversation today, that there is a difference between like needs and neediness. Needs is that basic need that we have as humans. We all have needs, and the neediness is the clinginess. It's the anxieties, the insecurities that come from being needy. So there's a difference between the two. So when it comes to your needs, this is a conversation to go deeper into. So what are my physical needs? No, what are your physical needs? It's both ways of communication, it's an exchange. What are our social needs? What are our security needs? What are our religious needs, spiritual needs, our financial needs? It really is starting to explore all of that and being able to say, so when we have needs, and therefore we have boundaries. So what are our boundaries too? So being able to talk about needs and boundaries is super important. But when you are, it's not but, it's and. No, when you are talking about these things, it is also about explaining why it's important to you. Because a lot of people are driven and motivated to help somebody out or to fulfill somebody's needs when they also understand the reasons why. Why is it important to you to have that need met? How would it make you feel to have it? What do you appreciate about that need? It gives it so much more context. So again, a discussion around needs and boundaries would have to be had between both parties. It's super important there. And sometimes we are unsure as to what our needs are or that of your partner. And there's an opportunity for you to explore a quiz called the 5 Love Languages. And it's by a gentleman called Gary Chapman, and it's an online quiz. And through his work that he's done over the years, he has determined that we have 5 core love languages, which are words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, physical touch, and quality time. And what the quiz can do is to help you know what your primary love language is. So, for example, you might do the quiz and find out that quality time is your primary love language. So therefore, what you can do is you can communicate that to your partner and say, hey, my primary love language is quality time. What does that look like for me? This is what I would love for you to start doing, to stop doing, to continue doing, or to do more of, do less of. And the thing about needs is that sometimes we think that we are fulfilling someone's needs by you doing that. So look, I buy that person gifts. And that person might be like, I really appreciate the gifts. My primary love language actually is quality time. I want to spend time with you. So it's about understanding what that person wants, not rather than what you assume that they want. So as I mentioned, it's a quiz, the 5 love languages that you can find online. So that's 2 aspects. You've got emotional availability and you've got needs. That's what discussions need to be having to have healthy love. And then it's all about, and do stop me, Juliet, if I'm just
no, you go
going.
ahead, because like, people don't want to hear me. I mean, I'm hooked.
Okay, take notes.
You know, I'm taking notes.
Oh, absolutely. And as Juliet said, subscribe to her YouTube channel, because this is something that you probably are going to want to revisit and listen to and take some notes if you're not taking notes. So again, another one to talk about is shared values and your visions and your goals. So do you both share? I mean, where possible, it's lovely to have compatible core values, and values are simply what you hold to be important to you in your life, and your values drive your behavior. So really knowing what your values are is important to you, because they're your deeply held beliefs or principles about what is good for you and what you like. So it could be my value is love, kindness, it's understanding, it's empathy. And if you can meet with somebody, you're having a conversation with your partner and they're like, hey, that's my values too. What does love look like for you? Now, what does kindness look like for you? So just because you label it kindness, my personal view on what kindness is for me might be so different to what Juliet's values are when it comes to kindness. So it's really understanding what that means.
Teresa, we're actually coming up to that all-important break.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. I am in conversation with my resident relationship master coach, Ms. Teresha Young. This is the last segment of the show, so we don't have long left. But before we went to break, we was talking about healthy love. What does that look like? So, Teresa.
Yes.
Carry on.
I will.
You know, Juliet's taking notes here. You know, she's like got that notepad out.
Take notes. Have your highlighter.
Highlighter. Do people even
And
know
your
what highlighters is?
highlighters and paper clips, huh?
Paper clip.
And paper clipping.
Making notes.
Yes. So where I was before was talking about values and how having shared values, core values, can be really great and helpful for a relationship. And when you don't have that compatibility when it comes to it, it's just still having that appreciation for the difference, as long as it's not at detriment to the relationship dynamic, of course. So having a shared vision as well and having shared goals is really important. So those are the kind of discussions you'll be having with somebody as to, okay, we're in agreement now that we're going to take this forward. We're going to take this past the cuffing season. So what's our short-term vision and our goals? And some people may say, whew, this feels like a lot of work, isn't it?
It does.
You know, so sit down and let's have a day when we sit down and plan it all out. Yes. And I'm not going to sit back and say relationships don't take work, because they do. They do. It takes constant review. It takes evaluation, because what will happen is that if you're not moving forward in a relationship, you end up going backwards. You're hitting the reverse button. So to have a relationship that is thriving, it is necessary to sit back and be intentional about how you want the relationship to go. Same way how you might be at work and you sit down and you have your performance plan and you have some goals that you're heading towards and you review that plan and you have some goals and you have some targets. The same way with a relationship too. Because what can happen is that whether you know it, the distance might grow. And then you're not in alignment anymore. Why? Because you didn't have a conversation with that person to find out how things were going. And I do believe that means having intentional time when you sit down, and that could be once a quarter. It could be that you plan it in to say, let's have a look, you know, how's things going? You know, you look at all the different components of your relationship. What are the finances like? You know, how do we feel as a couple? You might have some conversation around the children if you've got children, but really scope out what that looks for you. And then also a daily check-in. You know, how's your day been? What's been the best aspect of your day today? What have you enjoyed the most? Have you had any challenges? You know, those kind of questions. Just really be intentional about the way that we communicate and interact. So having shared vision and goals is really helpful. Also, you know, what healthy love can look like is that you just feel, I have alluded to this before, is that you both show like emotional maturity. So can you communicate clearly? Like what I was saying before, can you be open and honest, you know, with each other without feeling judged or criticized? And, you know, be mindful, you know, when your partner's talking, are you fully engaged? Are you fully present? Are you making faces when they're talking? Because I know a lot of people, sometimes when they're talking to their partner, the receiving partner can be making faces like looking really confused or just making an expression that makes it look like you're not making sense. Or just be very mindful about your facial expressions, because you can cut people off by the way that you are using your body language. So be very mindful of that, shutting people down, whether you know it or not. Also, I would say, you know, one of the final things perhaps when it comes to healthy love, there's more, but I could talk for days on this. But just so that you've got 5 key points would be personal space. Because when you are in a relationship, having your own time is important too. So really figuring out what space looks like for you. You can have time for yourself and have that conversation to see, you know, without that other person getting upset. You don't want to, you know, have time for yourself, but then you feel guilty or you feel shamed or that person blames you for spending time with you. If that person is like, yeah, you do you have your time, I will have my time. And what that means is that when we come together, we've got more to talk about. We've got different shared experiences. We've got different growth. You can go out with your friends. You can pursue your hobbies and your interests. Or it might just be me time is I just like to have a nice soak in the bath, maybe read a book, listen to music, whatever that means for you. Me time has so much psychological and physical benefits for it. And it's for you to define what me time looks for you. And it could be, like I've said, you know, a bath, exercising, going for a walk, reading a book, personal time. But the key thing is that both of you should feel safe and happy to be able to have that individual time to enjoy your hobbies and interests. And that also takes trust. Because if you're finding that your partner is having some resistance to you having me time, is understanding a bit more about what's causing that resistance. Because is it a trust issue? They don't trust what you're doing when you're out and about, because that's a bigger issue to talk about. Because sometimes what we're upset about isn't really what we're upset about. There's layers behind it. So it's really understanding what the resistance is to people having their personal time. Because sometimes I do hear that, especially when I'm doing couple coaching. They maybe one partner who is saying, I don't get why they want to spend time away from me. No, it's not about them spending time away from you. It's about them pouring into themselves so that they can pour more into you. They can pour from the overflow. So again, spending time away from me would indicate that they've got an insecurity that needs to be addressed. There'll be benefit behind looking about that, because then you may be feeling rejected. You may be feeling abandoned. There's a wound there that needs to be addressed. So again, if both people can be like, yeah, you got you do you, and we've got us when we're together, that's great, because that shows an element of security and a secured attachment style in that relationship.
Right. And social media and cuffing,
Yeah.
social media.
My views on that. Well, there will be social media, of course, shows you what they want to show you on social media. So what you probably will be finding around this time is lots of nice reels, people cozying up, doing things together as couples. It's all looking all rosy for them. So social media can put a lot of pressure on people to then do the same, or to have the same, really, which is why it is really important for people to understand what it is that they want in their current season in their life. Because if you can go into social media and not be activated by that, not be triggered by that, then that's great. But if there's something within you that you're watching stuff on social media and you're thinking, I'm feeling quite upset by this, then that's something to explore. But it's really understanding where you are in your current season in your life and what your intentions are behind it. So that when you go onto social media, you can just see that and be like, that's good. That's good for you. That's good for them. That's fine. I am where I am. How am I going to move past this? Now, what can I do to change my situation? So bring it back to you, because what you see on social media is outside of your control. What is within your control is your thoughts, is your feelings, and it's your behaviors. And it all starts with your thoughts and your beliefs. And what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your current situation? And our thoughts then trigger our emotions. So then how does that make us feel about it? When we can start to have a better feeling state, then we start taking different actions and behaviors around that. I think people listening to this will know, or will kind of relate. So when you're feeling good, you do things to continue to feel good, or your behaviors change. When you're not feeling so good, your behaviors are in alignment with how you're feeling. So it's shifting the way that you're feeling about it so that you can have better behaviors, make stronger decisions, and then you're going to get different outcomes in your life. And it will give you opportunity to explore new things as well. It will figure out what's not working for you right now. Okay, that hasn't been working. So what could work? What could I do differently this time? And it really is asking yourself some powerful questions. And if you need guidance on that, there's many places which you can get guidance. Maybe you need to speak to a therapist, even a coach. There's counselors, whatever it is. If you need external help, there's external help to help you to unpack this, because there's a lot of this stuff you can't do alone. No. It really is. There's some deep work to be done. But once that work is done, then it platforms you, and it's a catalyst for you to be able to go and achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So now, if you are looking for love, I would say to you, just ask yourself, put your hand on your heart, shut your eyes, and take a moment to say, what's my personal definition of love? What does that mean to me? Not what you see online. Like, really ask yourself, what does that mean for me? And then have your actions be incongruent with what that, in alignment with what that means for you.
Are you waiting for me to answer?
Oh, no, that's it. My God.
Okay. Now, one question. How can one survive cuffing season?
Okay.
Because if you're single and you're not cuffed up, how do you survive it?
You survive it by knowing what your boundaries are. When you can sit back and say, this is what I stand for, this is my beliefs, this is what I want, this is what I desire, and you have your boundaries, then you'll be able to filter out what's not in alignment with your boundaries. So first thing is to figure out what it is that you desire and what your boundaries are around that. What are your non-negotiables? What are your deal breakers? What are things that you can sacrifice but still feel satisfied with? Because sometimes, we can have unrealistic expectations as to what it is that we want, or we might be looking for, oh, I'm not going to go into a dating app because I want the most gorgeous. I met this person so organically. We're walking down the road and we caught eyes. We have to be very open to where we might meet these people. So really, it's having that reflection as to, if I don't have this, what will still make me feel satisfied? Because feeling satisfied is probably more of a long time sustainable feeling to have than to go for something really massive and then have to come down eventually. So, what's going to be more stable for you? So when you know what your boundaries are, then that's how you can survive it, because then you can filter out anything that's not in alignment with what it is that you want and for your boundaries. And it's feeling very comfortable with doing that. Learning to say no so that you can say yes to yourself. And know that whilst you might go through this process of meeting people, that the person who is the match will be the match for you. And of course, there's no definitive time on when that's going to be. However, if you have the trust, the faith and the patience in that and keep doing the action for that, then that person will come into your life at some point. But again, it's just really managing your time, being able to conserve your energy so that you are ready for when that person comes to you. But definitely know what your boundaries are so that you can filter out the people who aren't in alignment with what it is that you want. And you can filter that quite quickly.
And Teresha, just one last thing. Just a quick recap.
A quick recap on what we discussed today?
Yep,
okay.
About cuffing season.
No, cuffing season. As we started the conversation, cuffing season is a social cultural phenomenon that has got lots of attention over the years, and basically is that time of the season, typically between October and March, when people are seeking warmth and companionship. And usually it's a very temporary thing. It's a short-lived experience. Now, there can be some pros to it because, yes, there can be the upside to it. You've got that companionship, you've got that warmth, you've got that ability to spend time with people and do the festive things together. That can be great. It's cozy. There are also the downsides to it, which could be it is a very short-term thing typically, and you may, for example, start to develop feelings for that person. Two people might not be in alignment as to why or as to where the dynamics is going. One person might start to develop feelings, the other person might not. So that can be an issue. There can be the pressure to conform as well, the pressure from other people. Who are you with this season? Are you bringing a +1? And that can lead to some really rushed and ill-suited partnerships during this time, which means that there's lack of authentic connection. You might not even be truly being yourself. You might lose yourself along the way, just simply because you're trying to fill that time with somebody. So there is the risk of there in that. And then what it may also happen is that you may just settle for having somebody who compatibility, it looks good on paper, but when it comes to connection, there isn't that deep connection too. So there can be an emotional fallout during that time. So what is really important to navigate cuffing season is to clearly communicate what your intentions are and expectations to ensure that both parties are on the same page from the get-go, to be really honest in your communication about it. And also just be mindful of what some of the behaviours are of somebody who isn't looking for it to move past cuffing season, which can be they're not talking about long-term plans, there's a lack of emotional investment, there's an overemphasis on physical intimacy, the communication might be really here, there and everywhere, and they don't necessarily want to involve you in their social circles, so there's an avoidance of social integration there. And also when it comes to labels, they might be very resistant to the labeling something or to defining it. So, those are some of the key things to be mindful of. It is a season, as it's all about intentions behind it. As long as two people are in alignment with what they are seeking, and that means good communication, then it can have its benefits. Then also just be very mindful of if you are going to transition to another stage, another season of the dynamic. So now let's move on to healthy love. I have explained to you what healthy love looks like, a few examples of it. There's more, but there's a few examples there for you. And just know that this time of year, it can be a beautiful time of year if you meet somebody who is in alignment with what you both want.
Excuse me. Oh my gosh. It went down the wrong hole. Now, Teresa, can you tell the listeners your social media handles, please?
Absolutely. So you can find me as Teresha Young, and I am, of course, I would say most social media platforms as Teresha Young, actually. So you can just do that. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. Have I missed anything out? I think those are the major ones there that I've listed. Also, I have a website, www.tereshayoung.com. If you look at my Linktree bio on Instagram, there's a number of free e-guides that you can find there. One being the 5 dating and relationship green flags for healthy love, which I've kind of run through today. There's another guide about how to avoid time wasters and narcissists, which again could fall in alignment with our discussion today too. And another one about me time. And I've spoken about the importance of having personal space. So that's another great guide for you. Also, there's an opportunity to work with me. If you're listening to this and think that you could benefit from having some one-to-one assistance, I am a dating and relationship coach, as you know. So reach out to me. You can send me a DM, and I'd love to see if and how I can help you. We could have a non-obligatory free chat for half an hour or so, and I can just find out a bit more about your personal situation there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Teresa, for gracing us with your presence each and every month. Your input, knowledge and expertise is absolutely priceless and very much appreciated. I mean, I appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners
thank you
do.
very much.
And
Thank you for having me.
No, and every month you come on, you just blow it out the water. Teresa, we'll be back next month with more relationship advice, tips and treats for you. For you
Thank
cuffers
you
out there.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, because it's that cuffing time. Now, Teresa, is there such a word as cuffers?
Cuffers? I guess if you're using that word to label somebody who is actively doing cuffing, then maybe cuffers. I don't think somebody's going to go out there and call themselves a cuffer, just so you know that I'm a cuffer.
Well, I made it up. You made it up. Exactly.
Okay.
So you first heard
I'm not
it.
sure what...
You've first heard it on Supreme.
Okay, lovely. I don't know what the uptake could be on that though.
You never know. When you see it in the English dictionary or Urban Dictionary, you just know cuffers it's
Cuffers.
Juliet G. Yeah. So, what are your plans after the show?
So after the show, I've just got a few things to do out on the road. So I'm going to put on my raincoats and my Wellington boots.
Okay.
And I'm going to brave this weather out there. So that's my main intention. So how about yourself?
I am going to be tidying up.
Oh,
I'm not going out anywhere. I refuse to go out. I'm staying indoors.
Yeah, I wish I could do the same. I have to get out. There's something I have to do. So yeah.
No,
and I'll be back indoors.
I am staying indoors till Wednesday. That's
Oh.
it. Yeah. Everything I need is here. And if it's not, then I'll have to do that.
Well, enjoy.
I will. And you too.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And on that note, keep it supreme with your host, Juliet G. Next week, I have another riveting show for you, as I will be in conversation with two young ladies, Jay Lasaki and Jen Scott, who have grown their friendship to business, and now they are CEOs and co-founders of Hustle and Heels UK. Who says don't mix friendship and business together? Well, these two ladies clearly did, and they didn't get the memo, so it works for them. Like I say, each and every week. You don't want to miss this, and trust me, you don't. So set your alarm clocks from now, people. Coming up next, we have Martin J till 12 noon. From 12 till 2, we have La J. 2 till 4, we have TLC. 4 till 6, we have DJ Lee. 6 till 8, we have WJ Good Groove. And 8 till 10, we have Lloydie Banks. 10 till midnight, we have DJ Squeaky. Welcome back. Midnight to 2 a.m., we have Uncle Nuts until he says so. That, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the DJ lineup for this Sunday morning on your number one community radio station, Supreme FM. As always, thank you to everyone. Whether you be a first-time listener or a regular listener, thank you for spending the last couple of hours with yours truly. And if you're not already following me on the gram, it's Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, where you'll get all show updates, notifications about the show. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, that's Juliet G, where the shows will be uploaded. Remember, tomorrow is not promised, so love and appreciate the people who are in your life. First and foremost, look after yourself and be kind to others. Life has no rewind button, so do your best with the tools you have. Remember, we have two gifts in life, the gift of choice and the gift of chance. We have the choice to make a good life and the chance to make the best of our lives. So, it's the same time next week for your Saturday morning fix. If you're going out to any fireworks display or hosting tomorrow, be safe, have a blessed day, have a safe day, and make it an absolutely spectacular day, whoever you choose to spend it with. So, laters, alligator.
She want me pool skirt, so me pool skirt, ballet girl, she West Coast. You see, it's obvious, sensational. Yeah, what didn't I do for you, girl? And I know, I still fall for you. Love like a riddle, yeah. Give me the clues on the riddle. Oh, wow, laugh just a little, yeah. Life's pretty sweet, can be bitter. This one, she's fine, oh yeah. She want this, then she got this. She know fit control them, yeah. She dance it, she wind it. She make me want give her body back shots.